Great to catch up, Anthony, on what is, give or take, I worked out, the anniversary of when we started working with you last year. Perhaps we could start off by understanding your role as COO.
Yeah.
What's that entailed in 24, 25?
Sure. So I run a business which is about 5 billion turnover, providing power and gas to some of the largest companies in the UK. If we work it out, we need to bill and collect about £3 million every working hour, and we cover about 15% of the UK GDP. So it's a pretty chunky business. My responsibility is to make sure that that whole business works end to end, that we've got the core business that generates the cash for the group and looks after our customers. But then we've got some areas that we want to grow as well. So it's trying to get that growth engine growing. And then we wanted to talk to you about what do we do in the future. So my job is to make sure that we operate across 3 different time zones and multiple products.
Lovely. How have you seen your role specifically, the role of Chief Operating Officer, change in the last 5 years? Have you seen a difference in that role?
I think there's been a change in the nature of what we do because we brought 2 competitors together. We brought E.ON and npower together into one. So that's been a huge focus of the team for a big proportion of the last 5 years. But now that's really bedded in. Now we've got a really strong business. It's starting to reach for what comes next. Within our industry, there's some sort of technology changes coming about how meters are settled, which means there's going to be something like 1,400 times as much data. So if you take that data and then AI, and then you think about flexibility in the energy system, what we have to prepare ourselves is changing rapidly. Yeah. So we've been through a bit of a change and we're gearing up for what comes next in the energy transition.
Fine. And we started working together this time around, not the first time we worked together, but this time around on the Future of Energy 2032, right?
Yeah.
That was the project you engaged us in. What's the catalyst for that project? Well,
some of it is the industry changes, the things that are coming and trying to get our heads around it. And if I'm honest, a little bit of a legacy. In 5, 6, 7 years' time, I will be retired. I will be handing over the business to somebody else. So I wanted to stretch us beyond what is in our current planning cycle to think about what comes next, the things that perhaps we haven't even seen yet, and start to play and think in a very different space from the day-to-day of billing and collecting £3 million of cash every hour.
So the goals and ambitions were more about that next evolution of the business and just, what would you say, finding your feet, discovering, being pushed, having provocations?
Yeah, definitely. So we've structured our team and our thinking around the core business, the growth areas which are adjacent to those, but we've also now, off the back of the work that we did, set up a future hub. And I wanted to be able to put some people, put some resource and funding into that and let them go and explore and play, guided a little bit about what's relevant to our strategy, but just get into that space. And the work that we did with you gave us the confidence to go and do that.
Okay, brilliant. I think you've worked with us now. We're really passionate as a business about bringing what we call planarian behaviours into a business. That ability to continuously regenerate product, services, the direction of travel of the business, right? It's really important to have that ability to move quickly, to be ahead of what's coming next. To do that, one of the things that we worked through really well, I think, together was presenting you with that series of signals, right? That ability to look into the future and showcase what is happening in different categories, different places around the world, different businesses, how people are innovating and moving things forward for that fresh perspective. How did those signals that we presented to you, not just you, but actually the wider leadership team that we work with regularly, change the perception of where you are and where you need to go?
So I think the signals and the process landed really well. We were ripe for it. So it didn't just come out of the blue that, hey, we were going to think about the future. But I think one of the things that you did really well is you looked at some stuff in our industry, but you also brought us a lot of stuff from other industries. And in some ways that was easier to relate to what's happening in a car manufacturer or what's happening in a pharmaceutical company, because it was a little more distant from what we do. We can always explain away in our own industry, but when you see somebody else's, you go, well, that's interesting. What's the analogy for us? So we're actually pretty receptive to it.
Do you think that the team dynamic and the team's view of where the business should go changes as a result of seeing some of those signals?
Very much so. So off the back of the work that we did last summer, we refreshed our strategy, built it into those 3 chunks that I talked about, core, growth and future. We've put 3 pieces that we want to work into that future bit, and resourced up a future hub, and given it a budget and given it things to go away and play with and learn, and it is doing. So those 3 things are looking at industry verticals, so getting closer to some specific customers. How do we tackle energy flexibility for the large corporate market? And then the other thing we've done is what we call our business brain, is how are we going to look at all of that data that we've got access to and create value for ourselves and our customers. So all of those things are now in flight, and I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have been unless we'd done the work together.
2 points you made there, one of which was getting closer to the customer. That was something that we spent a lot of our sessions working through and really unpicking how could we be better as a business at doing it. You had a very good grip on the categories you were in, but actually it was that next level down, the deeper level of where those categories were going to be in 2030. That was a pivotal moment, I think.
Yeah, so I'll give you a really good example of that. So we're pretty good at knowing the energy consumption needs and the power and gas consumption needs of the customers, and we're pretty good at selling them that and renewing that. You know, we've got a long-standing relationship. But if you took it broader of that and say, what is that customer's strategy? What are they trying to achieve with their business? What are their broader energy goals? Then we're not so good at that. But one of the first ones that we got stuck into, so it was the vertical and the energy flexibility, was cold storage.
Yep.
So actually understanding that they have both the capacity and the need to flex their energy consumption, hot, cold, during the day, but that creates value for them and we can monetize, and it hadn't been captured at all. So just by getting a little bit closer, doing some customer interviews, having some conversations, we just opened up a whole world of possibilities for both them and us.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that we really enjoyed about the project was actually you gave us open access to everything that we needed. You didn't restrict it, and that was whether it was internal or external. So one of the things we always do when we engage a new team is make sure the whole of that leadership team is engaged early on. We did the one-on-one interviews ahead of doing any of the work for the project. For me, it really does change the dynamic, and it really envelopes everyone into the process. Do you think, from your leadership team's perspective, that helped the process?
Absolutely. So this was not something that I parachuted in on people and they thought, where did this come from? We as you said, we spent time engaging of why did we want to do this? Why is it necessary? And everybody's ambitious. They want to, they want to know where we're going to take the business. What are we aiming for in the future? And so then the structured approach, the conversations that you had, the way that we would then work together as the team when we all came together, was built on a pretty good foundation of this was going to be a good piece of work that we were ready for.
Yeah, I mean, you refer there to some of the innovation sessions we ran, the black hacks as we call them. They were really, really rewarding. I've done a lot over the years. Here, I think because we had really empowered the team in the weeks beforehand with the whole series of signals, for example, the possibilities, the capabilities, that expansiveness allowed people to really go through a really good innovation cycle and then apply it back to your industry, which for me is gold dust, because you've got all of this internal knowledge and actually sometimes it gets lost in those more innovative processes. Here, the two things seem to lock in really well together. Yeah.
So from that black hack and the innovation work we've done, those are some of the things that we've put into our future hub. And there's another bunch of things that we will want to get after once we've kind of proven ourselves a little bit about playing in this space. We're very good at managing things over here when they're certain and you can measure them. We're less comfortable in this space, so we're getting more comfortable trying new things that don't necessarily have a target or a purpose. We're just planning. We're just having a crack at some stuff. And once we get good at that, then we'll bring some more of those things in from the black hat, which probably the ones we really want to get after, which is, potentially we called it the Bank of Dave. But how can you almost create a financial services arm from energy retail? And we can see ways of doing it, but it was just a little bit beyond our reach at the moment, beyond our comfort zone. But I can see that we'll get after it.
pushing the boundaries, right? That's why you engage an external partner to come and work with you. I'm not a big fan of that term, external partner, because I like to think that we envelope ourselves in with your team. And that's one of the points of difference of working with a very small business accelerator rather than a larger consultancy. But did we really push the boundaries for you in a constructive and provocative way? How did you take to that? Because I know some of the things we put on the table like that really were quite future orientated.
I think there's two things of what you said there, Andrew. It is you felt part of our team, even though you were you providing that infusion and the challenge and the outside in perspective. You just work seamlessly across everybody, and you must have put a huge amount of effort and research to get your knowledge levels up, so that when you came to talk to us, it wasn't in the abstract. It was very valuable. What was the second part?
Just about whether you felt, I suppose, we pushed the boundaries. Did we do it in a... I like to think we try and do it in a constructive way while still feeling a little bit... You should feel uneasy. That's part and parcel. You can dial back. We can't dial back. We should take you somewhere. You should dial back to what feels appropriate.
Exactly. So, no, I think that whole thing was suitably uncomfortable. You took us to a place where we go, right, we know we should be here, but it's pretty unfamiliar territory. And my sort of challenge, thinking back over the last 12 months or so since we started, is, are we holding true to what we wanted to do with the work? We've taken some good steps. They're more than baby steps. We've actually created real value for customers and learned a lot, and we're doing some really good stuff. But I think we want to get a bit further. So the provocation, the opportunity to just revisit this with you is good timing, actually, because there was a lot of stimulus in there. There were a lot of good stuff, and I think you were sort of pulling us to be bolder and a bit more adventurous than we might otherwise have been.
You've referred a few times this afternoon to the conversational pieces about moving stuff forward, things happening, things in workflow. That's why we do what we do. We want to pop into a business, come in and go out. It's probably for us a bad business model, but in effect, if we can leave a business within 3-6 months in a better place than it was, and having actually already actioned some of those key things, and this feels like you've got a number of work streams at that capacity now really making a difference. Yeah,
absolutely. So, I mean, one of the things I will go and show you, I'll go and show you our physical future hub, which we've now set up. It's got its own space, so it's not theoretical, it's not PowerPoint slides, it's up, running, real people doing real stuff.
So that's a good point. We talked a lot about the operating model. So when we got to a point of knowing what we could do, and then we focused it down to what we probably should do, we spent a lot of time talking about what's the operating model for that. Is it an outside-in approach? Is it actually something connected to core? Is it something within core? And we took you guys through the rationale for either of them. You made a decision about what you wanted to do. But again, was that a useful exercise, having an external input into that operating point?
It really was, because, again, you said you wanted to sort of take us a bit further away from our comfort zone, and then we can always come back. And we had some really good discussions around my leadership team table, because some people are, let's go do this, let's build this thing completely differently, off-site, completely unfettered. And then there were a few more a little bit cautious. Well, let's just take some little baby steps and do a bit. Now, where we've ended up is there is this sort of physical ring-fenced team entity, which is pretty much allowed to go and play. Go and look at these things, but you go and figure out and play and report back. And we've probably got about 20 people working in that team now, and they've been recruited for attitude. They really want to go and do this stuff. We've got some sort of innovators within the team that are teaching them some skills, but they're just hungry to let us go and play and explore and talk to customers and follow up and do beta testing, all of these kind of stuff. So we went for that type of approach of get going, rather than perhaps if it was the core business, it would be the traditional planned business case, waterfall project. Well, we put some people in, we gave them some money, point them in a bit of a direction and let them get on with it.
Again, I remember talking in depth on a number of occasions about what was right, what's wrong. For me, there is no right or wrong, but it's how does it fit with the dynamic of the current business model? But also, what do you want to do with your teams internally? Do you want to bring them on the journey with you? Do you want to take it outside and keep that skill set and talent outside, or do you want to start enveloping from the beginning? Sometimes that's a bit more, it takes a bit more time to set it up that way and to get the right people in, which I think was one of the points that you made. But it feels like, again, I always think a business leader knows their business better than a consultant does. So that decision feels like the right one.
It feels right for now, and 12 months on, we're just going to revisit, is our ambition strong enough to keep driving that, or if we let it become just a little bit normalised with a core business. And I think it's out there enough, but we want to give it another push in the second half of this year and for next year to just make sure we're staying true to the work that we did.
Okay. Maybe to round out, we'll ask a couple of questions about why did you first engage Planaria Black?
Probably 3 reasons. So one, because I was very keen to start thinking of beyond our traditional 3 to 5 year planning cycle. So I knew we needed to do something, and I wasn't quite sure how to go about it. But I was kind of, it was ripe for doing something. We've worked together in the past in slightly different guises. So when we had a conversation, I love the way that you've thought and worked with us in the past, and really quite strategic. You've got your Planaria Black bit, so that it just seemed, all the pieces seemed to come together. We had a need. I knew you, what you talked about and how you did it. Felt like, let's give this a go. And I have absolutely no regrets for a second. It was absolutely the right thing to do.
What surprised you about working with us? Was there anything?
I think probably just how under the skin of our business that you got really, really quickly. Because you spent time with everybody individually and collectively, it didn't feel that you were a set of abstract consultants bringing a model that you've used somewhere else to us. It was very relevant to us, and the team engaged with you and Paul really well and loved the work.
Perhaps we'll round out by maybe asking you, what 3 words do you think might sum up Planaria Black for you?
Challenging, thought-provoking, brilliant.
It's very kind. Great to catch up with you.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.